Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners work session for July the 1st, 2013. For those of you in the audience, courtesy reminder, if you have a mobile device, please put it on silence or vibrate so that it doesn't ring during the meeting. I'd also like to make a note that Commissioner White is with a group of robotics students from J.M. Robinson in Orlando. At a competition, they had two teams. One came in 19th and one came in 21st in the nation. So out of 60, how many teams? 63, 65 teams, they were 19th and 21st. So congratulations to them. Commissioners, in front of you, you have the work session agenda. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to approve the work session agenda. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. First item we have, discussion item, is the QSCB funds, and we have Will Crabtree and Lynn Whitkey is here. Welcome.
We're finished. I do have one more bill due for retainage on the roof, and as soon as that bill's processed, we should be finished with all of our billing. So hopefully I'll get that in the next week or two.
Okay, thank you.
We're getting closer.
If you had said you were finished, I was going to be worried. I will say that much.
There would be a little suspect comment, right? Thank you, Madam Chair. The list before you is the milestone report, as we call it. And just to give you a brief update or overview, on Central Cabarrus High School, we're still in a holding pattern. The project, for all intents and purposes, is done, but we cannot make final payment until the bonding company agrees that we should make final payment. It's a bit messy. It's a joint person or joint entity check, two people on the checks now because of problems with the contractor's financial stability. So we hope to close that out in the next month or so. There's, like I said, there's just a handful of items, and we intend to get it done and completely checked out very shortly. So the gymnasium at Northwest is going along very well. That project, as you can see from the street, we're pretty well closed in now, and I haven't seen it myself for a few weeks, but it's doing fine on schedule. The Coltrane Webb Hood project, that was bid. We do have a budget amendment that we'll discuss in a little while. That project is going to be removed from the list of QSCB projects, so that funding from it can be used for other purposes, and we will be covering that project cost under our annual operating budget. The Mount Pleasant High School boilers has also been bid. That project came in over budget. We knew that was going to happen because of some of the code changes, as well as the addition of the multi-fuel burning capacity. And so, again, we have a budget amendment to discuss that will address that funding issue. The weight room is well underway, and again, is looking for completion in September of this year. The practice fields are on hold and most likely will be on permanent hold because of the funding issues in place. The electrical vault projects are complete now, 100%, and will be removed at the next, you won't see that one on the project list anymore. And the various school breaker panels, we just received today, as a matter of fact, a major portion of the payment request from the contractor. They're a very large organization, and we had a hard time getting them to focus on things like getting paid. I've not dealt with somebody that large before, but apparently that wasn't one of their major concerns. So we did authorize payment this morning, and we'll still have a large payment to make, but we're hopeful now that we're in their queuing process that will take place, and we'll get that project closed out shortly. And the rest of the projects, J.N. Freeze, we are moving forward on that. We did bid the project, and with the changes in funding requested last month, that project will be able to proceed. Any questions?
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Chris?
So the Northwest Cabarrus the gym addition, it's going to be completed by the end of August?
That's, I wish I could say end of
Yeah.
August. We're pushing because of weather conditions that slowed the addition portion. They're doing fine on the inside of the building, but getting the addition wrapped up and weather tight was greatly delayed because of weather conditions. So that might be the only piece that's lagging that date. But we will continue to push the contractor, and he's very anxious to get done with the project as well. So.
Any other questions? Mr. Wickey, Mr. Crabtree, it's not you. Could you do a spreadsheet with and you may already have it in finance, I don't know, when you guys talk back and forth, but could we get a spreadsheet that lists all of the projects that you've done and how they came out in the budget, just so that we have that for a reference? I mean, I can remember most of your projects, but I'm not certain if I had to right off the spot that I could.
Sure.
And that would be helpful.
I'll work on that, and I'll forward it on to
That'd be great.
Pam or
Yeah.
Susan or somebody.
Megan and Pam, either one would be great. I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Whitkey, if you want to wait, because you're going to be our next item.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Crabtree, thank you.
See you
Have a
then.
good Fourth.
Thank you. You do the same.
Okay, next we have discussion items for action at our business meeting. And first up, we have a reallocation request concerning the QSCBs.
Yes, ma'am. This is reallocation. We have a couple of memos attached that describe the movement of funds. Thank you. In order to complete the roofing project at Jan Freeze, we have requested the movement of the remaining $114,805 from the fields. They're called the Northwest Cabarrus High School fields, but these are the fields adjacent to Bulger Elementary School. And we're basically going to close that project out completely, move the remaining funds to Jan Freeze, and with those funds then in place, we will be able to re-roof whatever remains to be re-roofed at the school. So then we will have a completely, I won't say waterproof, but certainly a new roof on all the remaining areas and a watertight condition. Are there any questions? I'm sorry.
I think you have a couple others. You have another one besides that? With Coltrane and the breaker panels? Is that in this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. From
Is
Mount
that one?
Pleasant.
Thank you. Let me, 1 second.
The page I'm looking at just has all of it grouped in there together. I know they're different projects, but my
Oh,
page
thank you.
just had them
One
grouped in there
second.
together.
Yep. Got it. Okay, thank you. That one I didn't agree with.
The additional request we have is to move funds from 2 projects to make the boiler project whole. The boiler project came in substantially over what we had budgeted, and so if we can take $40,000 from the various schools' breaker panels, electrical panel testing and corrections, that's $40,000. And if we take the $46,000 from the kitchen hood modifications, that'll give us $86,000 to move into that project, which will allow us to take care of the boiler project. We then, in turn, will use facilities and operations funds to do the hood project. So all the projects that we committed to you will be done, and that should hopefully get really close to finalizing our QSCB projects.
Okay, any questions? We talked about this some last month, that you were going to bring it back to us to finish up. I know the Mount Pleasant, the boiler, you're doing it two-way, dual fuel, in order to make sure that once gas is available, it's available. It doesn't make sense to put that much money in something and then have gas available and reduce your operating costs and not
Exactly.
being able to take advantage of it. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I don't have a question regarding this, but I do have a question regarding the planetarium. Has the RFQs come in on that? Or?
No, we are in the process of trying to find designers.
Okay.
I thought we had a lead on one, but the person that I was speaking to said that she was not qualified to do what we were asking. But she has given me another recommendation, and I've approached that person via email to see if he would be interested in doing it. The problem is it's a very technical issue, of course, and the average engineer or architect on the street wouldn't be able to do that design work. So as soon as I can find someone qualified, we'll bring them in and assign them the project, and then they will develop the bidding documents so we can put it on the street.
Okay. Is there a timeline for that?
I did, I don't have it with me. Our hope is, and again, this was given the timing in terms of talking with Ash Enterprises previously, they felt they could get it all completed by the end of this year. That's our hope, and but it depends a little bit on how long this design period takes.
Okay, thank you.
One question, on Jay and Free's roof, I thought one time there was going to be a part of that left over, but did I understand correctly, that's going to be a completely new roof for that entire school?
Yes, sir. Yes, the movement, when we were trying to figure out how to fund all of the work, we did have a price from the lowest bidder to put a membrane on the 600 wing, as we call it. That was that one section. And when we went back and I explained that we had a funding problem and we needed to look at other options, he came up with a subsequent option that we feel is adequate. And we will have a new membrane now as part of that project on that 600 wing.
Is that the one where you were reducing the insulation, which
Yes, sir.
enabled, okay.
Yes, correct.
Great, good,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you both very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item, Commissioners, get to it. We have the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners meeting, our 106th Annual Conference coming up, to be held on August 22nd through 25th. Have you looked at your calendars? Do you know if, I don't know who has responded that you're available to go to the meeting? Are you going to go? Do you know?
I'll be attending. Commissioner Morris, will you be attending?
I have not
Okay.
my calendar, probably.
Commissioner Burridge, do you
I
know?
won't be going.
Okay, and I don't know about Jay, so we need to let them know who's going to be the voting delegate for us. So, I mean, based on the comments, Chris, if you're going for sure, then I think you would be a logical voting delegate, and then Steve, we could make you the alternate.
Or if he, to give Commissioner Morris an opportunity, if he wants to be the voting delegate and I'll be the alternate, if his calendar works out, when do we have to have this submitted?
Do you know, Megan, when we have to let them know by? Oh, I'm sorry, Friday, August the 9th. So we have a little bit.
Okay.
So how about if you double check, and then if you'll let either of you, I guess if you'll let Megan know prior to our meeting in 2 weeks, and then she can make sure she's got the right name down, so that, because we'll make the appointment at our
I will.
regular meeting, and that way
I'll
we can make
double check
sure
Sounds good.
which order, so,
Okay.
okay. That would be good. Next up, adjustment to the salary. You and I have talked about it. Are you going to talk, do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, on May 6th, the Board of Elections Director, the new director that was appointed by the state, the current Board of Elections proposed a salary of $56,681.81, and the Board of Commissioners voted to approve that salary. Since the budget's been adopted, a cost of living increase was placed onto the salary tables, and that exact salary no longer exists. The closest salary to that is $56,701.05, which is a $19.24 difference on an annual basis. And I wanted to provide that information to the board, that based on how we operate in our payroll system, we have to put everybody on a step and grade in order to have the system function properly, so that there will be a difference in the salary of $19.24 should there be no objection from the board.
Any
Is that
comments?
$19 in our favor or in her favor?
Her favor.
Good, good.
Perfect. Yeah, that's just, it takes the same step that was there and just puts the recalculated amount on it, so. Everybody good with that? Okay. Next, Jonathan and Pam are going to talk about sale of tax foreclosure properties, and you have a sheet at your seats.
And Mr. Billifer can answer questions about specific properties if you have them also, so I'd ask him to join us. But you had authorized this, these are properties that because of taxes due, the county has taken possession of, they've gone up for auction, but on the courthouse steps, but no one has purchased those properties, so we now control them. And so that means in many cases, Kyle is mowing, showing, responding to citations from the cities if the grass gets too high, all sorts of things. So you had authorized the county to put a batch of these out for sale, and we've used the gov deals, we've notified adjacent property owners, and we have had limited success in getting some of these moved. You had set as a base the amount that was owed. That's county taxes as well as city taxes, if those are applicable, that we've paid off. So what we're asking is for you, some feedback from you and guidance after they've been for sale for some period of time. Are you willing to reduce the amount that we would accept for that as some percentage perhaps? So maybe after 6 months, we're willing to take 75%. After a year, willing to take 50%, whatever your guidance is. 'Cause again, we're incurring cost as time passes with general services.
You've already tried to bid them off the courthouse?
They've been bid at the courthouse. We've notified adjacent owners. In fact, the one I'm aware of that we sold, we were able to sell to an adjacent owner. We advertised them, gov deals, is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. So we've tried in numerous ways to notify people, and we've had some interest, but just haven't moved very many of them.
Is the feedback you're getting that the price is too high? They're looking for an even better deal? I mean, $2,000, I don't know where this lot is, but $2,000 for a...
The feedback is sometimes the area they're in, the condition, because some of these do have structures on them, but they're not habitable. Kyle, you may have some better response to that.
Yeah, some of these structures are, a couple colonies of termites holding hands together, and probably got some lead-based paint and asbestos issues, possibly in at least one of them. So the structures have been let go for so long, metal is stripped, HVAC, electrical, that type of stuff.
Are any of the structure, I guess if they have asbestos or lead base, it wouldn't be the case, but are any of them where the fire department could do controlled burn practices on any of the structures? I mean, I'm just asking. If you need to get rid of a structure, is that something that would be beneficial?
The two areas that I'm thinking of, I do not think that would be a wise idea.
Commissioners, what do you think?
Have these been advertised on our website?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, yeah.
Well, the gov deals connects
Yes.
that, so yeah,
Okay.
we provide information, but yes.
I'm surprised there's no one interested. I mean, this one lot I see here in Kannapolis valued at $117,000. The sale price is a little over $12,000.
And that actually is a new one. That was the other part of this question is you had authorized us with a batch of these. I guess we were looking to come back to you also with a blanket authorization that with that parameter that we would not sell it for any less than what we were owed in taxes, that we could just add properties to the list as they went through the foreclosure auction and were not sold. So we're looking really at two items. One, we want to be able to add properties to the list, go through the notification of adjacent owners, put them on gov deals, and the minimum would be the amount owed. But after some period of time, if we haven't sold them, we'd like your feedback for how to move from there.
And also the properties from 2005, we also offered those to Habitat for Humanity, and they declined our offer based on the location. So that's another possibility that should they not sell, that there may be some other of these vacant lots that may be suitable for Habitat.
What do you guys think? I mean, we need to get them off of our...
I think it would be a good idea if we came up with a formula, something similar to what you suggested. After X amount of time, they drop a certain amount. Right now, they're costing us money.
Mm-hmm.
We're not likely to ever recover what's already owed on them. But if we can get them back in private hands, we may be able to collect some tax in the future.
That's right.
And prevent us from additional maintenance expense. So I think that would be a good way to go. And the market's it's gonna correct that. I mean, if you start out at full price, if it's worth it, somebody's gonna take it. If not, then they'll be watching for that reduction. So I think that's a good plan.
Is there a recommendation for, Jonathan recommended 25% off after 6 months,
I'd say do that.
50% off after a year.
Whatever you can do to get rid of them, you're better off to get rid of them. You ought to keep holding on to them, keep sending somebody out there to mow the lots and all that, and houses deteriorating further. If they got houses out there in as bad a shape as Scottsville they are, then ain't nobody gonna buy the lot with that house sitting on it.
It looks like from this list, a lot of these are just vacant lots.
Correct.
I mean, they don't have any structures on them.
That is correct. Majority of them do not.
How many of them are just vacant lots? Well, I see, all of them. I thought you said somebody had built, it's just two got buildings on them?
We had a third one that had a building, but it had been demoed right before they foreclosed on it.
But this list, it's a living list, so it keeps coming through. So there are very frequently buildings that come along with these lots sometimes, so.
So for your regular meeting, then, I'll write up a memo with a policy that'll go on your regular meeting agenda for you to review based on your feedback.
When these come up for auction on the courthouse steps, is the minimum bid the taxes that are owed on them, or
Taxes and fees.
taxes and fees?
Taxes and fees.
Right. I was going to maybe buy a couple of them for $5, $10 a piece if it were a true auction.
It's an auction with a minimum price.
Doesn't seem to be working.
Okay, well, for our meeting in 2 weeks, is there a proposal that we can put in for, or you can think about it and we can make a motion, but think about if you want to do the, drop it 25%, we can include that.
And I will go ahead and write a memo with that policy, and then if you want to make changes to it, then please just let me know.
Okay, yeah, if we have that, because right now we have it sitting on consent, so we would obviously need
Okay.
a proposal there for it, so if that sounds good to you guys.
Sounds good.
Okay, next we have.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Susan Fearrington.
Part of the process of approving the annual budget is a capital improvement project, and part of that is funded through capital reserve and general fund. And this is just to catch up our multi-year fund so the projects can begin after July 1st. So the projects have already been approved, the funding mechanisms. This is just updating our project ordinances and the budget amendments so we can start spending the money in the appropriate funds. So I have presented today the construction and renovation fund and the small projects fund, both with project ordinances and budget amendments to get them up to speed, so that we can begin the project. Some of the projects included are the Cox Mill parking lot, the emergency communications improvements, the prime farmland, Human Service Center, HVAC, Helms Hall out at Camp Spencer, the Franklin's Park tennis courts lighting, and J.N. Robinson wetland mitigation, and then Wallace Park that we continue our proceeding further with that project. So, any questions?
Any questions about any of the projects? I think we've talked about these before.
They've all been approved. They're just in funds where you can't spend out of. You got to move them into the funds where you can spend the money.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Kyle Bilfer is going to come back to talk about the old jail demolition and courthouse annex renovations. Give us an update.
Thank you. Just wanted to provide the board with an update on kind of where we are on the jail demolition and the courthouse annex renovations. We look to put the bid out in July, the end of July, so that's kind of why I'm coming to the board right now. We've about gotten through all the actual bid document files and approved them all of exactly what we want and what our alternates are. Have communicated everything with staff in the courthouse now and at Guardian Ad Litem, so they know what everything is going to look like and meets all their needs. Really, I just wanted to kind of show you, you've actually already seen these prints probably months ago. There have been no changes to the actual layout of the space for Guardian ad litem, who is the one customer that will be new to the courthouse that we're bringing in. Obviously, the second floor will be renovated for file rooms for both the DA's office and the clerk of courts, so that we can clear up some of their file storage space in the actual courthouse and start to address some of our egress and fire issues in there in terms of just how much we have jammed into that square footage. The biggest changes that we've made since the last time we saw the plans was the parking lot. Megan, can you go one more for me, please? Thank you. This shows, a lot of that is my coloring in there to show how we've looked at reserving the spots. So that the parking lot will have an interior, secure, rolling gate, fenced-in area for the judges and the DAs. And then the outer area, the county is proposing for courthouse staff to park there from probably 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. And at that point, the lift arm gates would go open, and that exterior area would be open to the public, and then open all weekends. Now, there are about 30 to 35 state cars that would be parked in that exterior spaces. You can see them in the old jail parking lot now. They belong to the Department of Adult Corrections. And on some days and some nights and some weekends, those cars would be parked there, and on other ones, they wouldn't. But I still think that would probably, in my estimation, on any given weekend, I'd say open up 28 to 25 extra spots for public parking on the weekends. Now, of course, we'd have to have some signage and stipulation that says if you're there at 6 a.m. on Monday, I'll have to come down and tow you, which would mean obviously more on the county and more communication on the county and where we take those cars and then handling the fees and everything like that. But I believe it was the board's desire to try to offer some more downtown public parking that was closer than our other lots, which are on the other side of Union Street. So really kind of what I'm looking for is that the direction the board wants me to go in, because I had planned on bidding the parking arm gates as alternates, so that if we decided, no, we don't want any parking arms, then I wouldn't have to put them in, and then if we do, I go ahead and put them in. There was some talk of how the parking layout should be, and I kind of need some guidance in that.
Yeah, I would advise you, it's hard to see up there, but you'll have it in your packets. Look at it and give myself or Jonathan or Kyle a call. Come in and we'll sit down with you individually if you want, and we'll talk about who's going in there, or do you not want to assign any spaces except for the inside the fence line and then just make the rest public. That's an option too. But you are responsible for providing some parking, and it doesn't have to be right next to the building, but you're responsible for some parking for those state office employees as well. So what we have in there, most are going to be working directly in the courthouse, either all day or parts of the day, and then those state cars for the probation officers and that type of thing. So there is a much higher demand than what we have available. So between Jonathan and Kyle and myself, we whittled that down to what we think is a workable scheme. But feel free to look at it, make some suggestions. If you don't feel comfortable with what we've done, yeah, we're open for suggestions as well. Again, we've fit and accommodated everybody we think we can accommodate in there as much as possible, but we were not able to meet everybody's request.
The way I've color coded it, and I've also on the exterior of that print are all the emails or request letters that I got from our customers over in the courthouse. So you can actually see what they wrote and why they said they need this many spaces and for who. Really by North Carolina general statute, we're only required to provide parking, some secure parking, some parking for state cars, but also parking for actual jurors. So kind of our thought process was if we could put a bulk of the employee parking here, then the other county lots we have, which we have 4 of them, could provide the actual parking for the jurors. And then that obviously would give us a way to streamline them through the actual security in the front of the building, which is what you want. By parking in the exterior, you're more likely to want to go in the side vestibule entrance, which is obviously a secure entrance as there is no metal detection or weapons detection there. So trying to keep this as where the employees park and not put the employees in the other lots where currently we have the public parking, and where when you get a little green card in mail that says your jury duty, it shows you what parking lots you can park at. Trying to kind of keep it consistent was part of our thought process to try to do this.
So I mean, obviously, you're increasing the number of spaces available there. Where are those folks parking now?
They are parking in Lot 3, which would be behind the Bales Bondsman off of Union Street.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the increase is coming from staff increases, specifically in adult corrections.
Right. So the public that uses the courthouse has to park down Church Street?
Church Street or back
Yeah.
off of Barbarick and Corbin in between
Right.
there.
Yeah, or at the old Board of Elections site. So either Lot 1, 3, 4, or 5.
Right.
Okay.
Looking at this, this print, where you have the district judge, I see where that's going to be secure. Where the DA parking is, it says that's a secured lot, so there'll be an arm to...
Gate.
A gate,
Yeah.
okay.
I can't get everything on there to show you
Right.
guys exactly what it is, but when you would drive in off of Means, like you were driving that parking lot now,
Right.
what will be right in front of you is an actual fenced-in lot. So a big rolling gate, kind of like what we have up at Human Services where the
Okay,
transportation
right.
vans are in. So that will house the DAs and the judges. Everything else that's in there would be secured by pretty much a parking arm and no fence. So
Right, okay.
your spot is secure, like it'll be there in the morning when you get there and you can park in it, but
It's
it
not.
won't, anybody coming up to you.
Okay, and so behind, or I'll say in the front of the parking space, where if you were to pull your car in for the DA spot, it says landscaping, well, there'll be a fence
Yes.
in that
There's a
area.
fence in the middle of the landscaping, and we'll
Okay.
use type of somewhat to what we've just renovated the Kannapolis Library with, somewhat of a xeriscaping, but we won't use the granite mulch like you see at the parks. We'll
Okay.
actually use a regular mulch.
I like the print. I think it's good. I think there should be secure parking, and so this will be correct that where the DA parks and the judges park will not be public parking. Right.
Ever.
Okay.
Ever.
Yeah.
So if it's Saturday at 5 PM and there's no judge came in to work or catch
Right.
up on anything, that inner lot will be secure. There will
Okay.
be no one in there.
I think that's the way it should be handled, in my opinion.
But the rest of the lot can be used by the public on the weekend.
Yes, sir. I
about
can't
at
tell you
night?
that there wouldn't be state cars parked there, but not all the spots.
How about at night, Monday through Friday?
Yeah, we proposed after 5. I got a little pushback from some of the offices over there that in their defense, they do work to, 6 or late, things like that. They asked if I could, maybe the lift arm gate not go up till 6. So what I'm gonna try to do is program those things automatically to go up. Now, doing all of this is great and I can do it all, but there will be times where, the lift arm gate won't, open, won't come down, the rolling gate. So we're going to increase our maintenance calls. I can tell you right now from doing this.
Any other comments? Everybody good with the proposal as far as right now? Okay, thank you. I think what you've done addresses some of the questions that we had or comments from the last meeting. Next, we have Lundy Covington's here. You're back there. Reappointment of the Cabarrus County Tax Administrator.
Good afternoon. And basically what we will be seeking is reappointment for a 4-year period of time for Brent Wiesner, our tax administrator, tax assessor, tax collector. Being that this is personnel, is that something we would take up in closed session as far as details this afternoon? Okay.
Any particular
Any other
questions? Since he's already doing it.
So if you don't have any questions, you can go ahead and... we'll make it just, we won't need any closed session.
How long has Mr. Wiesner been the tax assessor
His,
or tax administrator?
He was originally appointed in July of 2003.
Okay. I don't have any objections.
I don't either. Any other comments? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're up for still, possibly, I don't know if you're doing anything with the next one or not with Dana. We have 4 items concerning the library and different things for each of those, so welcome.
Thank you. The first one we have is acceptance of an LSTA grant for literacy and lifelong learning, and the creation of a grant-funded position. This is a grant that you all approved our application for about 6 months ago. We'll partner with the Cabarrus Literacy Council to hire someone to come in and write computer class lesson plans for us and teach our staff and the public and literacy students and tutors computer applications.
So is that like teaching Microsoft IT Academy type classes? I mean, what type of computer classes?
It's everything from basic computer skills, how to use a mouse, how to use a keyboard, how to navigate, to use of Microsoft Office products, use of our library databases, the databases we subscribe to, NC Live databases, things like that. Generally, they're 1 hour, 1.5 hour classes. It's not a continuing thing.
And where are the classes held?
They'll be at all 4 of our libraries. We have a laptop lab that will be able to transport among the 4 libraries.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
What will happen after the 1-year grant is over?
At that point, we'll have computer lesson plans written, so the rest of our staff will be trained by this person on how the best way to deliver those classes to the public. Hopefully all of our staff will be better versed in using computers and using all of our databases. And the literacy tutors will have better ways of using computers with their students.
Okay. Is this a full-time position?
It is a full-time position.
And where does the grant come from?
It's a LSTA grant, which is administered by the state library. LSTA is a federal grant. It's Library Services and Technology Act. So it comes from the federal government, but the state library administers it.
That's it. Thank you.
So, I mean, we did encourage you to apply for it, so it's a good thing that you've gotten the grant. Is there anybody currently staffed or a volunteer that you know of that knows about this, that's kind of looking at it, or this is going to be put on the website?
It'll be put on the website very soon, but no, I don't have anyone in mind.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, commissioners? Okay. The next item is another grant that you've gotten.
This is another LSTA grant that is through the state library. You again approved the application of it about 6 months ago. This is a grant that will help us with our 4-county community read. In the spring, we'll be featuring Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan. The funds for this grant will be used to pay for the author's visit as well as a lot of the publicity costs.
Okay, and this has a match, and I presume that we included the match amount in our budget?
The match amount will come from Canon funds.
From Canon funds, okay,
Yes.
so that's not coming from us either?
No.
Okay, even better. Any questions about the book read and the grant? Which counties are going to be doing the book read this time?
This year it'll be Cabarrus, Davidson, Rowan, and Stanley.
And when does that start?
It'll be in March and April of 2014.
Okay, I'll get the title down pat by then.
It's a long one, but it's a great book.
It's a long one?
A long title, not a long book. Never choose a long book for a community read.
That's why I said that. Okay. Any other questions concerning this grant? Okay. And next we have your fines and fees policy.
This is a policy that has been approved by the Library Board of Trustees, but because it is a policy that deals with fines and fees, it also requires approval by the Board of Commissioners. And the point of this policy is so that we're consistent in the way that we're applying all of our library policies that deal with fines and fees, any exceptions that we have for waiving fines and fees, and also for reporting any waived fines and fees to you all.
have these changed at all are there any changes to this policy, or are the fees gone up, fines gone up, any of that?
None of this addresses actual numbers. That's addressed with the budget. This is just in the application of those policies. We've never actually had a written policy, so this actually, for the first time, puts it in writing.
Okay. Commissioners?
We did discuss this at library trustees meeting. I think it's very well thought out. There's some loopholes now that exist that this clears up, so I think it's a good thing.
Great.
Any other comments? Okay. And last, bless you, a purchase of a microfilm machine.
Yes, we received a grant from the Henson Trust Fund to purchase a microfilm machine for the Kannapolis Library. And this is actually not just a microfilm machine, but it's a microfilm reader, printer, scanner. It's a machine that will be hooked to a computer so you can scan the newspaper or whatever other files to your flash drive. So it's more advanced than a regular microfilm machine.
And do the other library branches have a similar machine, or?
We have similar machines at the Concord Library. The Kannapolis Library is the only other library we have with microfilm, and the machine that we have out there was purchased, I believe, in 1986, and it's on its last legs.
And the funds for this is coming from the Henson Memorial Trust Fund?
Correct.
Do you want to say a brief comment about that, where that fund is?
The Henson Trust Fund is a trust fund that is primarily in the Kannapolis area, and they do a lot for not only the Kannapolis Library, but the Kannapolis City Schools as well. So all of their funds go to enhance life in Kannapolis.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
I would add that I had the pleasure of serving on the Friends of the Library Board along with Gertrude Henson.
Excellent.
For quite a few years, and that they have left a wonderful legacy and supported some good things in the community. A lot of people will remember Ms. Henson from the record corner, where we could go in and she would put our 45 records on for us to go in the booth and listen to, but long time, significant residents of the area. So proud to see this happening.
Great.
She would be as well, I think.
Excellent.
Any other comments? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next two items, Dennis Testerman is here. Dennis, if you'll come up. I do want to let you guys know that we had some problems earlier before the meeting started with the video. There was backfeed. Did you get a chance to talk to him? So we will make sure that all the commissioners see it. They're going to take care of making sure that we all get to see it. But we did have trouble this evening. So the first item that you're going to talk about is the intergovernmental operational agreement, right?
That is correct. So the county manager, deputy county manager Marshall, and Commissioner Burge have all had the opportunity to attend the Institute of Government's training for soil and water conservation. And Vicki Porter has joined me at the table, I should say. Vicki is our vice chair and also currently the chair of the State Soil and Water Conservation Commission under appointment by the governor, which is another one of our partners, though not a signatory on this particular agreement. As I was saying, there are several of us in this room that have had a chance to attend a one-day course at the Institute of Governments it's intended for newly elected or appointed board members. And we thought that might be helpful for everyone that hasn't had an opportunity to attend that training to see that. It's about a 10-minute long. It's a module 4 in a series. So do hope y'all have a chance to look at that. So the operational agreement is sort of the operating document for this partnership that we have, federal, state, and local. The conservation programs that we carry out at the local level are voluntary and they're locally led, so that's the purpose of having an elected board that makes those decisions. Would also say too, for the commissioners, that we're your environmental expertise at the local level, so whenever there are environmental issues that we can help provide some expertise on, we're more than glad to do that. And thank you for the opportunities that we've had in the past when you've called on us to do that. So the operational agreement this time is up for renewal largely because the Division of Soil and Water Conservation at the state level was transferred almost 2 years ago from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources over to the Department of Agriculture in a reorganization of state government. And so that was the reason to redo this agreement. They went ahead and cleaned up some other stuff while they were at it. There's nothing super new in here. Kelly Sifford and I worked on this document from a county level just to reflect some of the ways that we actually operate in terms of personnel policy and some things like that to make it read a little bit smoother. But there's nothing super new here. But again, it's an opportunity to look at that agreement. As a board, we sit down and look at this agreement every year. This is about the time of year that we do that, so we'll be doing that at our monthly meeting tomorrow night just to see that we're all rocking along real well. I would say also that during this time of recession that we've been going through, that one of the beauties of this partnership is that we're able to leverage funds, state and federal and private funds, at least in the last decade. It's been at least $2 for every dollar that the county puts in. It's been higher. It depends on which year a grant comes in and how you divvy up the dollars over time. But I think your dollars that are invested in the conservation district are among the better dollars that you have spent. I think you all are aware of that with the decision you made about farmland preservation monies and decision to put some county monies on the table because we're getting so much in terms of federal and state support for that it'll help those dollars just go farther and farther. That's it in a nutshell. If you've got any questions, myself or Ms. Porter, the one would be glad to answer them. And did you have any comments you want to make?
I just want to thank you all again for the partnership that we do have, because I do work on a state level with soil and water. This is not the arrangement that happens across the state. So I feel very fortunate, and we as a district feel fortunate that we do have this relationship with you, and we need it, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
I don't have any questions,
Comments?
just a comment. Thank you guys for all you do, and I think the partnership works out well, so appreciate all you do for Cabarrus County.
Yeah, I think we're lucky to have your family here in Cabarrus County.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'd just like to say it's a good program, especially when we preserve farmland and don't put houses on it.
And Mr. Burridge, I cannot sit here without thanking you for that. My husband would be upset with me, so I appreciate your comments about that every single time you say it. Thank you.
Yeah, we don't want to be where we don't have any farmland left in Cabarrus County. I think that's been a focus from the commission and from the county staff for a good while. So.
Yes.
And seriously, we do appreciate you and your husband and everything that you do in that community. So, okay. The next one we have is the about a conservation easement along Back Creek.
So I'll ask Rich Muggison with Muggison Mitigation, Inc. to come up for this next item.
Board, thank you for allowing me to speak here. I want to apologize for my attire. I'm moving my house and my office today, and the movers were supposed to be there at 1, and it's 5 o'clock, and they're not there yet. So I've been doing a lot of the work myself.
So we came before you very recently with an agreement. This is a little bit more of a formal agreement to reflect the fact that this process is moving forward. The school board is also being asked to sign an option for property that they now have responsibility for. And as a district, under the agreement that we have with Muggison Mitigation, we're contacting private landowners are also necessary to make this project work, get a length of Back Creek that's long enough to make the economics work out for this project. I don't know, you want to tell them where you're at with and maybe flesh out a little bit of the timeline, how this will evolve over time?
Thanks, Dennis. And Dennis has been great to work with on this project. It's really a project that should be done. You have a lot of erosion going on. You have an urban stream there. It's one of the last cattle farms in Harrisburg. and it really is in bad shape. Where every time you have a rain out there, and we've been having a lot lately, that he's losing inches of soil into the creek, and that all deposits into the lower Rocky River and so forth. And so we've got a lot of pollution going on in that stream. When Dennis brought the project to me, I said, this is a great project, but it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of risk and money involved, because it's a large project. It's going to require some construction, some serious construction to fix up this creek and stabilize the stream banks. There's 2 or 3 other landowners that we're working with right now. The first primary landowner is a fellow named Johnny Wayne Smith, who's signed an option with us, and he's raring to go. He's the one who's losing most of his farmland right now as we speak. There's 2 or 3 other landowners that Dennis and I are going to be meeting with. Ms. Margaret Stallings, who I understand has expressed an interest in working with us, and also the Board of Education and the Board of Commissioners here. So everything looks like it's lining up. My company is a small company, and we've partnered with another group that does very similar things that we do, called the Wildlands, who has also met with Dennis and his group. They're a very fine organization, and they have a really good reputation in the state, done a lot of work with the DENR and the EEP, and as I have. Right now, we're getting our options together, and I'm going to be signing, hopefully, a business agreement with Wildlands to go forward. They're going to be doing the design work, and then we'll be putting all the land work together, and that'll be our part of the puzzle here. We're hoping to then start the design work, get permits applied for this fall. It usually takes at least 6 months to get through this process, sometimes a year to get through a process that you have to, it's called the Mitigation Banking Instrument, and it's approved by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the U.S. EPA, Fish and Wildlife Service, and the DENR here in North Carolina. So it's about 4 or 5 agencies that I have to all get on the same page, and they give me a certain amount of stream credit. Then we turn around to sell to the developers who impact streams in our watershed here. So this is a fairly big project. It really is something that needs to be done. And I've lived in Cabarrus County for about 10 years now, so it's right in my backyard, and I really would love to do the project. There is some questions, and we really need your support to help us move the project along. I'm hoping that if all goes well, it's possible that we could construct next summer. If that's the case, we'll finish the construction in the fall of 2014, and then monitor the project for 5 years for the success of the stream restoration. During that time, we'll establish credits that are sold either to the EEP, who buys mitigation credits these days, or developers, or the DOT, whoever needs credit, mitigation stream credits in the lower Yadkin 05 is what it's called. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? We've talked about this before, about the need to look at that stream bed and move forward with this project.
I guess the question I'll ask again too is, this will complement the project with the bridge for the Raging Bull or Raging River?
Or they won't conflict with each other, is maybe the best way to put it.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was still there.
There is one technical thing I'll mention to you. As you're aware from our sale of some right-of-way at Winkler Middle School, depending on the type of financing we have on a property, you need to pass a resolution indicating that along with this to okay any sale or transfer. So I've been working with our bond counsel on that resolution. He's requested some information. Actually, I rewrote the resolution from Winkler and provided it to him, so I'm waiting for his final feedback. But there will be a resolution that will need to be on as part of this agenda item. They'll be included for your regular meeting.
In 2 weeks, on the 15th,
In 2
that'll
weeks,
be included.
yeah.
Okay.
And that is, it's only for the Hickory Ridge Middle School property, which is partially financed through COPS, which is collateral. That building and grounds are collateral for that loan, so that's why you have to do that.
In regards to the road crossing, I also did the project at Stricker Branch, and we had to coordinate with the City of Concord on Sign Drive. I don't know if any of you are aware of that. That was washing out. It was a very bad crossing. It accessed the new Gibson Mill down there, so our engineers had to work closely with the city, make sure elevations were right, and we didn't put the culvert up here and the stream down here and all that. So we've done that already.
Any comments, Commissioners? Okay. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, the next item we have the agenda before you for our regular meeting. Looks like the July meeting will be a pretty short one. Everything right now is on consent. So if you'll look over the consent items and see if there's anything on consent that you would want to move into new business.
You did have the 4.4, the sale of foreclosed property, whatever that policy would be. Would you want to discuss that as new business? Or at least have it presented, and then you can vote? Would that be good?
That's fine.
Just throwing it out there since you discussed it. So if you're okay, we'll create the policy and attach it, and you can leave it on consent, either, however you want to do.
Do you want to leave it on consent, Commissioners, or do you want to talk about the policy, which may be a way of talking about which properties are available?
Right.
Why not leave it on there? We done talked about it.
Okay.
True. The question was, do you want to? I mean, it's
Just make
either
the
way.
changes and let it go.
Okay. Commissioner Burge would like to leave it on consent. The other, Commissioner Morrison, Meesmer, any?
I mean,
we can
that's-
always pull it off at the meeting if anybody wants to pull it off.
That's fine. If it's under new business, then I think it would bring more awareness, and obviously that's the problem we're having with those properties. So, I mean, if we leave it on consent, that's fine. You know, I agree with it for what we what we discussed, excuse me, sorry, what we have already discussed as far as what a policy would be. So I agree with that, but, you know, I say put it under new business.
Commissioner Morris, do you have a
I would say
preference?
put it under new business as well, since we don't know exactly what it's going to be, and that gives us an opportunity. We may rustle up some buyers through that process.
Okay, I think that's fine too. The rest of them, everybody's fine with being under consent?
Yes, are you going to have a resolution?
I was going to say, for the resolution, do we need to, does that need to be under new business? Or can that be under consent?
It can be under consent. It would just be, that'd be part of your item approval.
Okay. I'm fine with that being under consent then. Okay?
The other comment that I would make about looking down the agenda, in the section appointments to boards and committees, as it happens, I serve on both of these boards that are coming up next meeting. I think, as most of you know, I was not particularly pleased with the decisions that we made at our last regular meeting, and I think it would be good policy that whatever organization is suggesting these appointments to their boards, that there be a representative at our meeting and that time be allotted for them to tell us why they are choosing these. You know, there were a couple circumstances that I mentioned last time that were compelling reasons to keep these people on the board or to make exceptions. And so I think rather, you know, those persons who make those recommendations are they have information that we don't have. So I think we should hear from them each time. You know, I'm not sure if that requires a vote or how we might go about doing that, but that would be my desire.
Okay, my only comment would be that, I mean, I think it's our responsibility to appoint, so if there's information that somebody has, then we should get that information. I mean, if there's something that we need to know about, why there's a particular one, I believe that there's a policy in place. I mean, we can always look at the policy on, my whole point last month was that we are continually, almost every one of those was an exception to the policy.
Right, and I do not disagree.
So either we have a policy that we follow, or we don't, or we have a policy,
Right.
or we don't, we make changes to the policy.
Yeah.
We always have public comment sections, so, I mean, it's okay, for me, it's okay either way, if somebody wants to come. What do you do if they don't want to come, or if they can't make it to the meeting?
Well, then
Then we would just appoint, just like we have been doing?
Yeah, then they take the risk of our uneducated decisions. And the example that I would cite was the one situation last time where we had, I think, two people, both were exceptions to the length of service policy, and there was an additional applicant, but by asking some questions in advance, you know, I was able to determine that that person probably was not interested in that position because of the meeting time and that sort of thing. So, that is information that each of these individuals would have. I have them, I'm sure that Dana, in this instance, would be readily available to talk about library trustees, and I did see, if I remember correctly, one person on there that maybe would be an exemption to the length of service requirement. Having served on that board and understanding what's going on there, I can see several compelling reasons why that should happen. But it would be nice to hear it either from the staff person or the chair of those boards, I think.
And again, I'm okay, but I mean, we get appointed to boards. I got appointed when I first got on, and I most definitely didn't know anything about those areas. I've learned a lot, which has
Right.
been great. If we've got somebody who's interested, every month we ask for people to fill out an application and serve.
Yes.
And so that's why I think that if somebody wants to serve, they need to be aware of the options, and if they want to serve, they need to ask what time. We do that when we look at our appointments every year.
Right.
If it's a, 10 o'clock meeting in the morning, that's not one I'm going to go to. So, we do that too. So, your point's well made. If we can let these two boards know if they want to bring somebody to explain it otherwise. I would also say that if we are serving on boards that we're making appointments to, then we need to be aware of who the appointments would be and reasons, and we can share that. I don't want to take an hour every month for appointments, I want us to take it seriously, but I don't want somebody to think, well, I just have to come and stand there just because I have to, if there's nothing, if they really don't have anything to add. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So we can leave it up to the boards if they wish to come and make a comment. But I think that if we are a liaison or a member of a board, then we need to make sure we're looking at exceptions to the policy and.
Right, and I'm not
that we can
sure
address
that we have extended that invitation in the past and given them an opportunity to speak when those appointments are being made, as opposed to in public comments at the beginning of the meeting, which any number of things can happen between those two time frames that may steer us away from our thought process.
And I think for management purposes, for me, I would say that whoever's going to speak, it would be good to have a yellow card filled out. And if they can put on the yellow card that they want to speak about appointments, then we could ask them at that point in time. But we'd have a card filled out and we'd know who was going to talk or who wasn't going to talk. So
I think
we
that'd
can,
work well.
I'm sure we can get that information out without any difficulty. So. Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, this time I need a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda with moving item F4 and making it item G1. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And we do have closed session tonight. We do need a motion to go into closed session for personnel issues per North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A4. Do I have a motion to go into closed?
That item was F3.
And invite Lundy?
The item was F3, not F4.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion, I have a second, sorry. All those in favor say aye. Okay. Thank you very much, and we will go down the hallway for closed session, Commissioners.